How else will shaitan try to mislead people? وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ. And surely I will definitely mislead them. أُضِلَّنَّ. From the root letters, ضاد, lam, lam. What does ضلال mean? Misguidance. And notice how shaitan said, وَلَا. What does وَلَا mean? Surely. And before lam, there is an implied qasm. That wallahi, by Allah, I swear by you, O Allah, that I will أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ. And what does noon mushaddad mean? Definitely. Definitely. So by Allah, I swear, surely I will definitely mislead them. This is how determined shaitan is. This is how determined he is. And how determined are we? We think it's okay. Everything will be fine. Everything will be okay. We think that we will be successful based on our wishes and hopes, our desires, our imagination. Does shaitan rely on that? That yes, they will be misguided themselves. No. وَلَا أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ. Surely I will definitely mislead them. From what? From the correct way. From truth to falsehood. From obedience to disobedience. I will definitely lead them astray. And how does shaitan mislead people? How does shaitan call people to misguidance? Through wasawis. Through whispers. How? By beautifying the sin. That he beautifies the sins, and what happens? We think, oh, this looks so good. I should really try it. I should really do it. Because shaitan cannot force anyone to misguidance. We learned that the brothers of Yusuf a.s., when they threw him in the well, and they came back, what did their father say? بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا. Rather, your souls have enticed you to something. Meaning, your souls, they have beautified. And shaitan, what does he do? He beautifies actions for us. That just imagine, you're throwing your own brother in a well. Your own brother, the son of a prophet. If let's say you don't consider him your brother. He's the son of a prophet and you're throwing him in a well? What's making you do that? It's because the deed has been beautified. Similarly, when we disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we leave salah, when we don't pray salah properly, when we become completely negligent, what are we doing? What is it that's making us disobey Allah? It's the fact that the sins have been beautified for us. وَلَا أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ. Surely I will definitely mislead them. وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. And I will surely, definitely fill them with desires. I will fill their hearts with desires. False desires that have no reality. وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. This is from what? Umniya. We did the word amani, tamanni. What does it mean? Hope, desire, wish. And basically it is used for those wishes, those desires that are completely baseless, meaning that are false. You know what you said, dreams. When a person is dreaming, daydreaming, and there is no reality to them, meaning they cannot be fulfilled. So I will fill their hearts with desires, with hopes, with wishes that are false, that can never come true, that are never going to happen. But they're going to rely upon those false whims. They're going to rely on those false whims that have no reality to them. What does it mean by this? First of all, that I will fill them with desires, meaning I will cast into their hearts thoughts that are vain, that have no reality, that are false. Like for example, there will be no akhirah. There will be no hisab. And if you think of it, any reasonable person, how can he think, how can he assume that one person is very obedient, another person is disobedient, one person is so nice that he doesn't harm anyone, another person is so evil that he harms people? How can they end up as dust? How is it possible? But it's the false, the vain wishes and desires that a person has put in the hearts of people, the false imagination that when we die, we're just going to become dust and nothing is going to happen. We're not going to be questioned about what we have done. This is what? A false whim of a person. It's a false imagination. There is no reality to it. Definitely, after a person dies, he is going to be questioned about what he has done. Similarly, how does shaitan fill a person with false wishes and false whims, false imagination? That do whatever you want, and You can do tawbah later on. You can do tawbah later on. Nobody will find out. Do whatever you want, nobody will find out. And if you notice, these ayat are mentioned right after the incident of Tu'mah. What led him to blaming the other person of the sin that he had committed? What led him? It was his false imagination that nobody's going to find out, and later on, I will be forgiven because I'm a Muslim. It's okay. No big deal. And this is exactly how we feel. When we're doing something wrong, what are we thinking? Nobody's going to find out. Allah will forgive me. Allah is so merciful. Doesn't matter, Allah is merciful, Allah is forgiving. And people, I should hide my sins from them. I should pretend to be very nice before them. This is what? False imagination. What gave you this confidence, this surety that Allah will definitely forgive you? That Allah will not question you? This is what? False whim, false imagination of a person. وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. Similarly, when it comes to deen, most of us, what do we rely on? What do people rely on? False, baseless things that have no reality. Hearsay, or something that has been invented, something that has no reality in the deen. So these things, people rely upon it when it comes to religion. So وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, I will arouse false hopes in them. I will fill them with desires. I will fill them with desires that are vain, that are false, that are pure imagination, that have no reality to them. And if you think of it, when we are committing sins, like when we're doing ghibah, when we're backbiting someone, what are we thinking? Really, what are the excuses that we give to ourselves? What are the excuses that we give to ourselves? Think about it. It's true, I'm not lying. They'll never know that I have to mention this because it's going to bring the other person benefit. Allah will forgive me. It's okay, I'm so righteous otherwise. It's okay if I say one statement that is incorrect. So what are these? False imagination. That has no reality. You just assumed it. وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. So when we're doing something wrong, what gives us this confidence to do that wrong action? It's the false imagination. It's the false whim, which is cast into the heart by who? By shaitan. Similarly, there are people who invent many things in their religion. People invent many things in their religion, and what do they think? It's a bid'ah that is hasana. It's a good innovation. It's a good thing. And Allah will reward. Allah will reward. But the hadith clearly states, and as we learned in the ayah as well, that a person who invents something in their religion, splits away from the Prophet, follows away other than that of the companions, then such actions are rejected. Such actions are not acceptable at all. وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ, and surely I will definitely order them. From amr. What does amr mean? Command. So I will definitely order them to do what? To do different things. And as a result, فَلَيُبَتِّكُنَّ, then surely they will definitely cut آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ, the ears of the grazing livestock. Adhan is a plural of udhun. And the word an'am is a plural of na'am, which primarily refers to the camel. But the plural doesn't just refer to the camel, but it applies to sheep, goat, cattle, cows, etc. So what will they do? They will cut, they will slit the ears of the grazing livestock animals. Now, the word yubattikunna is from the root letters bata kaf, from the word batka. Batka, batkatun. And batka is the suspended part of something. The suspended part of something. Basically, if something has been cut, so the portion that has been slit off, what happens to it? It hangs. It hangs. So for example, you have a banner that's posted on the wall. Now imagine if you cut the banner halfway. Not completely, but only halfway. What's going to happen? One side is going to bend over and it's going to hang. It's going to bend over and it's going to hang. So this is what batka is, the hanging part of something that has been cut off, that has been split. And battaka is to cut something to pieces, to split something, to slit something to pieces. And it also gives a sense of brutally slitting something. So over here, what is it slitting? The ears of these animals. The ears of these animals. Why will they do that? We learned that the Arabs, they used to split the ears of a cow or a camel or a goat or a sheep as a mark of dedicating her for the idols. That this animal has been dedicated to the idols, to the gods. And now this animal, nobody can ride it. If it's a camel, don't ride it. If the animal comes into your farm, don't stop it. If it comes into your house, don't stop it. Don't try to hurt it in any way whatsoever. If the animal's drinking all your water, don't stop the animal. Why? Because this animal is very special. It has been devoted to the gods. Similarly, these animals won't be slaughtered either. They won't be milked. Now the animals Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, why? Why? So that we benefit from them. They serve us. Now if a person says, oh, this camel is very holy. This cow is very holy. Don't touch it. Don't harm it. Don't milk it. Don't slaughter it. Don't eat the meat. And whatever it is doing, leave it. Don't stop it at all. This is what? Bringing harm upon yourself. Now who inspired this to them? Shaitan inspired this to them. And as a result, what did they do? They slit the ears of these animals in order to mark that these animals are devoted to the gods. And when would they do this to a particular animal? When a particular animal had given birth to 5 male calves. When a particular animal had given birth to 5 male calves. So on the birth of the 5th male calf, what would they do? That's it. She is holy. And there were different types of animals. If it gave birth to 3 or 4 female, they had different things. So primarily what you need to know is that if an animal did something very big for them, basically they were devoted to the gods. So فَلَا يُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ. Now, isn't this very brutal? It's unfair to the animals as well. That their ears are being brutally slit. فَلَا يُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ. وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ. And surely I will definitely order them. And what will they do? فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ. Then surely they will definitely change. What will they change? The khalq Allah, the creation of Allah. So I will order them, I will command them, and then they will change the creation of Allah. يُغَيِّرُنَّ is from تغيير. And what does تغيير mean? To alter, to change, to modify something. So surely they will definitely modify and alter and change the creation of Allah. Now, the creation of Allah, the tagheer of it can be done in several ways. The creation of Allah can be modified in several ways. First of all, in the physical sense. In the physical sense. Like for example, if a person doesn't like his physical features, what does he do? He gets plastic surgery done. For example, he doesn't like the size of his nose, or he doesn't like the color of his skin, or he doesn't like different things. So what does he do? Plastic surgery. Similarly, if a person doesn't like their height, why? Because if they're too short, they're not going to get a job. What do? They get a surgery done through which they get, extenders in their legs, so that as a result they become tall. This is what? Changing, altering the creation of Allah. Similarly, in the Arabs, what they would do is, especially the Arab women, for the purpose of beautification, they would shave their teeth. Like shave in the sense that they would file them. They would file their teeth. And they would file them in different shapes. So like in pointed forms. And this is actually, I saw a documentary once, but this happens today as well in certain cultures. Not just straight, but it's actually pointed in a triangular form. So this is what? Changing the creation of Allah. Similarly, they would create gaps between the teeth for the purpose of beautification. Similarly, tattoos. What is it? It's a permanent thing. It's a permanent art that you're putting on your body. How? By changing your skin. And who inspires this? shaitan. If you look at it, the process is so painful. The process is so painful of tattoos as well as the teeth. Making gaps, this is something very painful. Similarly, changing genders, if people do that today. Person is not content with the fact that they're masculine. They want to be a woman. So, they get a surgery done and they try to become a woman. Similarly, castration of animals. Castration of human beings that they cannot reproduce anymore. This is what? Changing the creation of Allah. Allah has created a person in such a way that they should be able to give birth. For example, a woman. Now, she does not want to have any children. What does she do? She gets a surgery done in which she will not be able to reproduce anymore. So this is something that is changing the creation of Allah. Similarly, your hair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it a particular color, a particular type of hair. Now you don't like the fact that they're straight. You don't like the fact that they're curly. Now what is that? You blow dry them, you use a hair straightener, that's different. But if you go and get a permanent kind of a perm done, then what is that? That for a year, for 2 years, people are going to think that you have straight hair, whereas you don't actually have straight hair. This is what? Changing the creation of Allah. Allah created your hair in a particular way, and you're changing them permanently. This is what? Incorrect. And there are endless examples of this. Endless. Secondly, this taghyeer can be done in the ma'nawi sense, in the intangible sense. What does it mean by that? That every creation Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created with a particular role, with a particular function. Everything that Allah has created, it has been created for a particular purpose. Nothing has been created in vain, uselessly. Now, if the role, if the function of something is changed, is altered, then what is that? You're changing the creation of Allah. Like, for example, why did Allah create the sun and moon? Why? What's the purpose of their creation? The sun gives us light. The moon, also light during the night. And both of them help us determine time. The calendars. The beginning of the month, the end of the month, the days of the year. But if a person changes the role of the sun and moon, how? That he begins to worship the sun. He begins to worship the moon. This is what? Changing the purpose of the creation. So this change is in the intangible sense. Similarly, animals, Allah has created for what? For our service. For our service. Now, if a person begins to worship an animal, or think that its defecation is very holy, then this is what? Changing the function of that creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. Similarly, rocks, trees, all of these are what? Creation that Allah has created with a particular role, and if a person begins to worship them, then that is changing the role. Similarly, a human being, for example, a woman, biologically she's different. A man, biologically he is different. If you change the roles, that the woman says that no, I am going to do the hard work, and I'm going to give birth, I'm going to cook, I'm going to clean, I'm also going to go work, and the man, what is he going to do? He's going to sit at home and babysit my child. Because I want to work. You're changing the roles. Who's going to suffer? The woman. Because at the end, she is giving birth. The man is not giving birth. She doesn't have physical strength, and he has physical strength. So if you change the roles of human beings even, this is what? Changing the creation of Allah. Similarly, corrupting the minds of people. This is what? Changing the creation of Allah. Taking some work from someone that they have not been created for. Taking some work from someone that they have not been created for. Similarly, homosexuality. A man should approach her for sexual enjoyment. And if he goes to a man, he's changing the role of the man. Anal sex, this is what? Taghyeer of the khalq of Allah. It is against the fitrah. It is against the natural way. So, this change, alteration can be physical, and it can also be intangible. It can be hissi as well as ma'nawi. Others have said that this taghyeer, it means taghyeer of the fitrah. Meaning altering the fitrah, the nature. The nature. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created things. The roles that He has set for them. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught the deen to us. The deen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us. So changing the deen also comes under فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. Because deen is deen of fitrah. So for example, if a person innovates something in their religion, if a person omits part of their religion, alters the rules of their religion, changes the halal to haram and haram to halal, this is also under فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. For example, the question is about braces on the teeth. Is that also under this? If it's for the purpose of correct pronunciation of the words, because sometimes it's difficult for a person to pronounce words correctly because of the gap in the teeth. Similarly, it could be that his teeth, because they're not ordered properly, he's not able to chew food properly, eat properly. So there could be different complications. So if it's really for a genuine reason, then it's okay. But just for the purpose of beautification, that I don't like the way my teeth are arranged, so I want them to be perfectly straight, then that is not appropriate. So just for the purpose of mere beautification, it is not appropriate. Because every person has been created in a different way. The first thing we need to do is accept the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us. And really, is our goal only to perfect our physical being? Is that really the purpose of our lives? Sometimes it happens with people, they get their braces, and within 2 years they have to get them again. By changing your creation, by changing the way that Allah has created you, that is not appropriate. First of all, it is ingratitude. That Allah has given you brown eyes, or has given you colored eyes, and you don't like the way that Allah has given you your eyes, so you want to deceive other people by putting on colored contact lenses. So first of all, this is ingratitude, then it is deception, and if it's something that you wear only sometimes, and it's not permanent, then, if you really think that's necessary, go ahead. But deceiving people, that's not appropriate. Similarly, bleaching the skin, that is also inappropriate. So tattoos, changing the color, this is all part of changing the creation of Allah. Allah gave you short hair, you want hair extensions. As long as it is not a permanent dye, and as long as it is like a natural color, and it should not be black. And it's not such a dye that prevents the water from reaching the hair. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he used to color his gray hair. We know that. So it is allowed as long as it's such a dye that does not prevent the water from reaching the hair. Because sometimes it literally leaves a coat. So if you're taking ghusl, is your hair going to be washed? No. Similarly, if you're dyeing your hair purple, or pink, or yellow, what is that? Do you see any normal human being with yellow hair, with pink hair? No. That's not how human beings are. You see other animals, birds with different colors, but not human beings. So this is changing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How Allah has created human beings. It should be a natural color. And it should not be a permanent one, nor should it be black. So for example, if a woman has gray hair, then she should actually put some color on, because that was a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as well. And cutting the hair, as long as lets a woman be a woman. Because cutting the beard also, not shaving it completely, but up until the fist, that is what? Something that was practiced by the Sahaba. And we know that some scholars have said that if a person does not cut his hair, does not cut his beard, and he lets it grow beyond the fist, then he's presenting himself so that people can mock at him. So similarly, if a woman does not maintain her hair, and it's making very difficult for her to manage her hair, and it's going everywhere, she's not able to keep it together, then in that case, she should not present herself to people to mock at her. And for example, a person wears a particular thing which changes the shape of the foot, or changes the neck, all of these things. In any way, if the shape is changed, if the actual khalq is changed, then it falls under فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. وَمَنْ يَتَّخِذِ الشَّيْطَانَ وَلِيًّا. And whoever takes shaitan as a wali, مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, besides Allah. What does it mean by this, that he takes shaitan as a wali? Meaning he befriends him, he obeys him, that he knows clearly that this is of the instructions of shaitan. آمُرَنَّهُمْ. This is what shaitan instructs. But still he says, no, I'm going to do it, because I like it that way. What is he doing? He's befriending who? Shaitan. Who is he being obedient to? Shaitan. وَمَنْ يَتَّخِذِ الشَّيْطَانَ وَلِيًّا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, besides Allah, فَقَدْ خَسِرَ خُسْرَانًا مُبِينًا. Then in fact he has lost, he has suffered a loss that is clear, that is evident. It is clearly a loss. This is what he is suffering. What do we think? That we're actually gaining. We're looking more beautiful. We're looking more cool. People like us more. People will appreciate us more. We think that there is benefit in obeying shaitan in this way. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the person who listens to shaitan, he is suffering a loss. Why? Because his benefit, first of all, is temporary. Secondly, these alterations, these changes, eventually, they harm the person. Isn't it so? They're extremely harmful for you. For example, if a person dyes his hair with a dye that is permanent in the sense that it leaves a coat on the hair, what is it going to do to the hair of the person? What is it going to do? Damage the hair. Similarly, the teeth. If a person does anything to change their form, creating gaps, eventually it's going to harm the person. It's going to damage the teeth of the person. Similarly, bound feet. So sometimes the women, they cannot carry because of the way that their feet are changed. فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. As I had mentioned in some of the examples, that khalq does not just refer to the human beings, but it also refers to the other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for example, the way that Allah has created plants, the way that Allah has created the animals, changing them, altering their roles, altering their functions, or genetically modifying them. But remember that, inshallah, when I come to the lessons of this ayah, I'll mention that what is permissible and what is not permissible in modifying the rest of the creation. So first of all, in this ayah, we learn about warning against shaitan's tactics. That these are the tactics that he uses, or these are the whispers of shaitan. This is what shaitan commands. What? What does shaitan do? وَلَا أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ. So this is all from who? From shaitan. Which takes us to the next lesson, which is the prohibition of following the wasawis of shaitan. The waswasa of shaitan. You know, sometimes we do something wrong and we say, shaitan. Who told you to follow shaitan? You shouldn't have. Very easily we blame the shaitan. Yes, he did inspire us to do that wrong action. But you can't blame him and prove yourself to be innocent. No. You're still blameworthy. You shouldn't have listened to him. You shouldn't have obeyed him. Thirdly, we learn about the prohibition of being lost in false desires, false imagination, whims. That a person should do everything based on fact. We also learn about the prohibition of slitting the animal's ears, except for some worldly benefit. Because over here, what is mentioned is that I will command them, and as a result, they will slit the ears of the animals. What is the context? Why did the Arabs slit the ears of the animals? Why? For marking their being devoted to the idols. Now, if for a genuine reason, for example, if a person has a farm and he has a lot of animals, now for the purpose of tagging the animals, he puts a tag on the ear. And in that process, let's say the ear is slit off, because sometimes animals, they have fights and one, pulls the tag. So as a result, that happens. You cannot say, no, you can't tag the animals. No, you can. For some worldly benefit, you can, but there should be no shirk behind it. The problem with the Arabs was that there was shirk behind it. We also learn from this ayah about the prohibition of taghyirul khalq, of altering the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except those that are permissible. For example, trimming the beard. A person's beard is what Allah has created. But if a person trims it, according to the Sunnah, only up until below the fist, this is what? Not changing the creation of Allah. Because this is something that is acceptable. Similarly, if a person has gray hair and he dyes the hair with a hair that is reasonable, that is natural, not black, not even unnatural, that is also permissible. Similarly, if there is a plant, and in order to improve the quality of a crop, not the quality of your money, of your profit, if some modification is done, then that is acceptable. Remember, this is to improve the quality of the crop. You know how we have corn, right? The corn in the cob, it's actually very big. But initially, before, long time ago, it was the tiny corn that you see in stir fries. So initially it was like that, and eventually with genetical modification, it was made into a bigger size. So if, in order to improve the quality of a crop, in order to bring benefit to people, if something like that is done, it is permissible. But if a person is doing something like modification for the purpose of gaining more profit, like for example, you have such plants now, such fruit now, that do not have any seeds in them. So the farmers, when they sell them, the fruit, the crop, what do they have to do? They have to go buy more seeds. So this way, they remain permanent clients to others. And this way the money is concentrated with some people only, with some industries only. So in order to improve the quality of a crop, that is permissible. Similarly, in order to improve the quality of an animal, in the sense that, with breeding and stuff, if you do it in a particular way through which the quality of the animals is going to improve, meaning the animals are going to be stronger, that is permissible. But injecting them and just feeding them such food that is completely unnatural just so that they're bigger, that is not acceptable. That is not acceptable. But within natural ways, through breeding, if it can be done, it is permissible. But if you're improving their size or their meat or things like that through injections and through unnatural food, that is not permissible. It's not acceptable. Because you see that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ also, there were some things that were done. And they were correct. Why? Because they didn't bring any harm and they were all natural ways. Like for example, mules. It's a cross breed between who? Horses and donkeys. Now you can say that this is altering the creation of Allah. But it's not. In a way it is, but it is acceptable. Why? Because it is done through natural ways. But if you inject a horse with steroids, and if you give the horse food that is completely unnatural, or the donkey such food that is completely unnatural, that makes them bigger and fatter and more strong, that is not acceptable. Similarly, a chicken, if you're feeding it such food that is making it completely unnatural, that is not acceptable. But within natural means, it is permissible. As long as it doesn't harm the animal, as long as it doesn't harm the people. Now that they're there, you can't say they're haram. Seedless fruit, you can't say that you shouldn't eat them. You can eat them. But this way is incorrect. So remember, as long as it's not harmful to the creation, to the animal, to the crop, and it's not harmful to the people. It's not harmful to the people. Then it is okay. So basically we see that this genetic engineering, genetic modification, whether it is within animals or crop, this is something that is very sensitive and something that needs a lot of discussion, and somebody who is going into this field, he should make sure that he learns about what our deen teaches as well, before going into something like this. Ibn Mas'ud radhiyallahu anhu said that, may Allah curse those who have tattoos and those who do it. May Allah curse those who have tattoos and those who do it, who pluck their facial hairs and the one who does it for them. What does it mean by this? Plucking your facial hair. Plucking the facial hair. Yes, the eyebrows. You see, many people say from this that a woman, she should not pluck the facial hair at all and she should leave it as it is. The fact is that if there is excessive hair on the face of a woman, then just as we are required to remove the unnecessary hair of our body, similarly a woman should also remove the excessive hair, even if it's on her face, because it will in a way make her resemble men. It's against the beauty of a woman. So that is why it is permissible. But if a woman says that, no, I'm going to pluck, for example, some women, they even pluck their eyebrows and they make fake eyebrows. Or they pluck their eyebrows so that they can give a shape to the eyebrows. That is not permissible. But if it's any excessive hair, that is permissible. So may Allah curse those who have tattoos and those who do it, who pluck their facial hairs and the one who does it for them, and those who make spaces between their teeth for the purpose of beauty, changing what Allah has created. So Ibn Mas'ud explained this as changing what Allah has created.